Hello students, I am VLN Swarupini, lecturer in biochemistry from Sri Venkateswara College of Arts and Sciences, which is affiliated to Adikavi Nannaya University, Rajahmundry. Now I would like to discuss about third BSc Biochemistry 5A paper, that is Physiology, Clinical Biochemistry and Immunology. So, from this paper, let's discuss about the topic blood clotting from the unit 1. So, let's start the topic mechanism of blood clotting or coagulation of blood. Anything is the same. Okay. The term hemostasis is applied to the sequence of physiological responses to stop bleeding. This is carried out or followed by blood clotting. That means what happens in this blood clotting is actually why this blood clotting is very important means whenever a person got wounded with any situation, immediately bleeding of blood is the immediate reaction for the wound formation, and this blood bleeding can be stopped by blood coagulation, and this blood coagulation will be occurred by sequence of physiological responses in our body. That means immediately after wound formation, blood will be bleeded, and immediately our body reacts and undergoes sequence of physiological reactions by which blood will be clotted or coagulation of blood will occur. And these sequence of physiological responses or physiological reactions occur to stop bleeding are termed as hemostasis. Okay. Blood clotting or coagulation is the body's major defense mechanism, is the major defense mechanism against blood loss after wound formation. As I explained earlier, immediately after wound formation, blood will be bleeded, and to avoid blood loss in any person after wound formation, this blood clotting or coagulation is body's major defense mechanism. Or else what will happen? There will be huge loss of blood volume from that particular person, and it will cause adverse effects, and in few situations it may also lead to death. That's why this is the major defense mechanism present in every body. Okay. And a blood clot is formed as a result of sequence of reactions involving nearly 20 different substances. Most of them are being glycoproteins produced by the liver. That means this blood clot is formed by sequence of reactions. Okay, this blood clot is a result of sequence of reactions, and these sequence of reactions will be occurred by 20 different substances, and these are all glycoproteins which are produced by the liver. That means the liver will produce different kinds of glycoproteins which are responsible for the blood clotting. Okay, and this blood clotting is mainly of two types. That means this is done by two methods, that is extrinsic pathway and intrinsic pathway. These both that means on with any of the pathway, blood clot formation will not be completed. That means both extrinsic pathway is required and intrinsic pathway is required. That means both the pathways should be occurred, and after individual pathways, that means after completion of extrinsic and intrinsic pathway, the end product which is formed by these two pathways will again participate in a sequential reactions completing blood clot formation. Okay, so now let's see what is this extrinsic pathway and intrinsic pathway. Extrinsic pathway is the initial process of clotting and involves the factors that are not present in the blood. That means extrinsic pathway is the initial process. That means immediately after the formation of the wound, this extrinsic pathway of blood clotting will be activated. Okay, and involves factors that are not present in the blood. That means extrinsic pathway is done by the glycoproteins which are not present in the blood. If you have listened the earlier class, that is components of blood, we discussed about plasma, in which plasma also contain plasma proteins like fibrinogen and all, and these are also clotting factors. And also serum which is present in the blood also carries some blood clotting factors, and plasma also contain plasma proteins which are not some of them are clotting factors. That means blood will also contain clotting factors, but not only clotting factors present in the blood, other than blood uh, clotting factors, few more blood clotting factors will be present, and this extrinsic pathway will be carried by the glycoproteins or the blood clotting factors which are not present in the blood. Now if we see what is intrinsic pathway, it also it is also a series of reactions participated by the blood clotting factors which are present in the body. That means here in intrinsic pathway, series of reactions will be carried by the clotting factors which are present in the blood. Okay, and this extrinsic and intrinsic pathways are not independent since they are coupled together. As I told earlier, both extrinsic and intrinsic pathways will be carried, and at the end, if you see the reaction, you can clearly understand. You see this. This is the uh, extrinsic and intrinsic pathways, and here factor 10A is the common product from both the pathways, and this 10A factor will again participate in the common blood clotting reactions to form final clot, that is by fibrin. Okay, so that's why these are not an individual pathways. These will be coupled at the end by factor 10A. Okay, now let's get back to the point. Here what happens, both the reactions will both the pathways will be coupled together at the end. Further, the final reactions are identical for both the pathways. That means after coupling of the both pathways, after coupling of the pathways, what happens? Further, what happens? Final reactions are identical for both the pathways. That means both the pathways will share the same or similar type of reactions, and that ultimately lead to activation of prothrombin to thrombin, and the conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin clot. Fibrin will be the final blood clot uh, that will avoid the blood loss. Okay. Now let's see how this conversion of fibrinogen to fibrin will happen. Fibrinogen is called as factor 1. Okay, fibrinogen is called as factor 1 and it is a soluble glycoprotein that constitute 2 to 3% of plasma proteins. That means this is a soluble glycoprotein and it contains 2 to 3% of plasma proteins. And fibrinogen consists of 6 polypeptide chains. That means it is made up of 6 polypeptide chains in which 2 A alpha, 2 B beta, 2 gamma. Finally, all these subunits will be making the structure of A alpha to B beta to gamma 2. Okay, this is the final structure of this fibrinogen. That means this fibrinogen is a glycoprotein and it contains 6 polypeptide chains with 2 A alpha chains and 2 B beta chains and 2 gamma chains. And we can simply write the structure of, we can represent this fibrinogen structure as A alpha 2, B beta 2 and gamma 2. And this fibrinogen undergo proteolytic cleavage and catalyzed by thrombin to release small fibrinopeptidase A and B. What happens here? Fibrinogen will undergo proteolytic cleavage and this reaction will be catalyzed by thrombin. And after the proteolytic cleavage of fibrinogen, it will release small fibrinopeptides. Fibrinopeptide A and fibrinopeptide B will be released. What happens in this reaction? Fibrinogen is finally converted into fibrinopeptide A and fibrinopeptide B by the catalytic reaction of thrombin on fibrinogen. And this results in the formation of fibrin monomers which can stick together to form hard clot. That means after the formation of this fibrin monomers, what happens? These fibrin monomers are can easily stick together, resulting in formation of a hard blood clot, and this blood clot will prevent the loss of blood through wound. Now let's see how this conversion of prothrombin to thrombin will occur. That means firstly, for the formation of fibrin from fibrinogen, thrombin should be available for the catalytic reaction of fibrinogen into fibrin. So now let's see how this thrombin is formed from prothrombin. Prothrombin is called as factor 2 and is a inactive zymosan form of thrombin 2A. Zymosan form is nothing but the inactive form is called as zymosan form, and this prothrombin is the zymosan form of thrombin, and the activation of prothrombin occurs on the platelets and requires the presence of factors 5A and 10A along with phospholipids and calcium ions. What happens here? For activation of prothrombin, that means nothing but this prothrombin is activated, resulting in the formation of thrombin, and this process occurs on the platelets. Okay. What is a platelet? It is one of the cellular component in blood. Okay. We call them as thrombocytes. If you remember the yesterday's class, Platelets are the thrombocytes, which are the important cellular components responsible for the immunity or for the self-defense mechanism. These platelets are very important. Okay, and over these platelets, what happens? Activation of prothrombin process will be taken place, and for the process of activation of prothrombin, it also requires factors 5A and factor 9A. And along with these two blood clotting factors, phospholipids and also calcium ions will be required. By presence of these four components, prothrombin is converted into the active form, that is thrombin, which we call it as factor or blood clotting factor 2A. Now, let's see the extrinsic pathway in detail. Okay, extrinsic pathway in detail. Here, the extrinsic pathway is very rapid and occurs in response to tissue injury. Okay, that means immediately after the wound formation, extrinsic pathway will be activated. What happens immediately after the wound formation or injury formation? This extrinsic pathway will be activated. This pathway essentially involves the conversion of proconvertin, that is factor 7, to its active form factor 7A, and the generation of factor 9A. Okay, that means what happens? So what happens here? This in this extrinsic pathway, firstly proconvertin, that is factor 7, is converted into factor 7A, and after the 7A formation, this 7A along with factor 3, it will help factor 10 to form factor 10A, which is the active form of the factor 10. Okay, and the tissue factor 3, that is blood clotting factor 3, found to be necessary to accelerate the action of 7A on the factor 9, and is present in lungs and brains. See this. Here what happens? Firstly, factor 7 is converted into factor 7A. Okay, and after factor 7A formation, this factor 3 will act on factor 7A for conversion of factor 9 to factor 10 to factor 10A. If you see the reaction here, you can understand. Please observe the small box, which is the extrinsic pathway. Here what happens first? Factor 7 is converted into 7A, and factor 3 will act along with this 7A to increase the activity of the factor 10 to form factor 10A. Okay, this is the immediate reaction that will occur after the wound formation. Okay, now let's move on to the intrinsic pathway now. In this intrinsic pathway, it is a very slow when compared to the extrinsic pathway. Extrinsic pathway is very fast and rapid immediately after the wound formation, and this intrinsic pathway is rather slow when compared to the extrinsic pathway, and it involves the participation of contact system. That means contact system is nothing but the wounded surface. Contact surface is here nothing but the wounded surface. That means it is attached to the, it works on the wounded surface, and a series of factors to generate factor 10A. Okay, here it involves the participation of the wounded surface and series of factors to generate factor 10A. And the Hegman factor, that is factor 12, that is factor 12, is activated to form factor 12A. What happens initially? Higman factor or blood clotting factor 12 is activated to form factor 12A. This will happen on exposure to activating wound surface containing collagen or platelet membranes. That means if this wound gets exposure to this collagen or platelet membranes, then this reaction will happen. The Hegman factor 12 is activated to form factor 12A on exposure to activating wound surface containing collagen or platelet membranes. Whenever the wounded surface is exposed to collagen or that means wound surface containing collagen or platelet membrane is exposed, then this Hegman factor 12 will be activated to factor 12A, and the formation of factor 12A is accelerated by calcarein and HMK components. Okay, that means this reaction is also require presence of calcarein and HMK components. And the activated Higman factor 12A activates factor 11. That means this 12A factor will activate the factor 11 to form 11A. And the 11A activates factor 9. Here factor 9 will be activated by factor 11, and the Christmas factor is activated by proconvertin factor 7A. Next, what happens? This particular firstly factor 12 is activated by other components to form 12A, and 12A activates 11 factor 11 to form 11A, and this 11A activates 11 to form 11A, and this 11A will help directly the factor 10 to form 10A. And meanwhile what happens is this 11 or this and the 9A, which is responsible for the activation of factor 10 to factor 10A, here this also require help of 8A. That's why again factor 8 is activated to form factor 8A. Okay, and this along with 9A and 8A, factor 10 is activated to form factor 10A. Okay, and what happens here? In the next step, the Stewart factor 10. Factor 10 is called as Stewart factor and is activated by Christmas factor 9A. That means factor 9 is called as Christmas factor and factor 10 is called as Stewart factor. And this Christmas factor 9A will activate factor 10 with the help of factor 8A, which is called as proconvertin factor. And this 10A and the reaction of activating this factor 10 also require antihemophilic factor 11A and calcium ion and phospholipids. Okay, and the extrinsic and intrinsic pathways lead to the formation of factor 10A at the end of the intrinsic and extrinsic pathways, and they participate in the final common pathway to ultimately result the blood clotting. If you see the reactions here, what happens? Firstly, factor 12 is converted into 12A, and 12A activates factor 11 to form factor 11A, and factor 11A activates factor 9 to form factor 9A, and meanwhile factor 8 is converted into factor 8A, and this 8A along with 9A is helpful for the activation of factor 10 to form factor 10A. This is the intrinsic pathway, and from both the intrinsic and extrinsic pathways, here 10A is formed, 10A. Now here in the common pathway, what happens? Factor 5 is converted into factor 5A, which along with factor 10A helps in the formation of thrombin from prothrombin. That means prothrombin, that is factor 2 is converted into factor 2A with the help of factor 10A and factor 5A, and this thrombin will activate fibrinogen, that is factor 1, to form fibrin. Okay, and this fibrin monomers will be attached and will be formed in the form of a hard clot with the help of factor 13, and this factor 13 is uh, formed from the reaction factor 5, and this will activate factor 5A will activate factor 8 to form factor 13 to form factor 13A, and this factor 13A will act on fibrin monomers to form fibrin hard clot. Okay, this is all about blood clotting process or the mechanism of blood clotting. And in earlier classes, we also discussed about components of blood and transportation of gases through uh, blood. Once again, let's refer the topics. Here, blood is a connective tissue and it transports oxygen nutrients in the cell. Blood is both tissue in form and also in fluid in form, and tissues are nothing but the collection of similar specialized cells and that serve different kinds of functions in our body, and these all cells are suspended in a liquid form or liquid matrix, what we call it as plasma. And because of presence of this plasma, we call blood as fluid. And when blood is centrifuged, we can see the separated plasma and cellular components. Plasma and cellular components are the two major and two different components with which this blood is totally made up of. And coming to cellular components, here red blood cells, white blood cells and platelets are present. We call them as erythrocytes, leukocytes and thrombocytes. And these platelets mostly play an important role in the formation of blood clot also. Okay. And in plasma, it is the composition of water, proteins, that is plasma proteins, electrolytes, nutrients and waste products. And again, white blood cells are again of two types, granulocytes and agranulocytes. Granulocytes are again three types, that is neutrophils, eosinophils and basophils. And agranulocytes are again two types, monocytes and lymphocytes. Now let's see what are the functions of these. If we see what is blood plasma, it is straw colored sticky fluid and it is around 55% of the blood volume. And this plasma carries serum and clotting factors. That means this plasma also play an important role in the blood clotting, which is the best defense mechanism for our human body. And it contains 95% of water. Plasma proteins are uh, these are the components which contain different kinds of blood clotting factors and immunoglobulins. Here proteins like albumin, fibrinogen, immunoglobulins are present, from which fibrinogen is a very important blood clotting factor, that is factor 1, from which uh, this fibrin will be produced, which is the final blood clot. And it also contains nutrients like glucose, fatty acids, amino acids, electrolytes like sodium, calcium, magnesium, bicarbonates, etc. And waste products like lactic acid, CO2 and urea also are also seen in the plasma content. And coming to what is serum, serum is just a fluid separated after coagulation of blood. If we take blood, after coagulation of blood we can see a fluid, that is serum, and after centrifugation of the blood we will see a fluid, that is plasma. Okay, plasma and serum both are different. Blood serum is nothing but plasma minus the proteins involved in the clot formation. Okay, plasma minus blood clotting proteins. And differences are nothing but presence of fibrinogen is seen in plasma, whereas serum doesn't contain any fibrinogen. And plasma contain it needs anticoagulants, and serum does not need any anticoagulants. And 55% of the blood volume is plasma, and serum is very less in the blood. And this plasma helps in regulation of transportation of minerals, and this serum is used for the diagnosis of different components like cholesterol, proteins and sugar levels in our body. And few plasma proteins like fibrinogen, albumin, these all we discussed yesterday. Fibrinogen is the clotting factor 1, and it is 4 to 6% of the total protein content. That means this is the one of the highest constituent of plasma proteins in blood, and it have molecular weight up to 350 to 450 kilo daltons. And this albumin is another important plasma protein, and it helps it keeps plasma in osmotic equilibrium with the cells of the body. That means it will maintain, or it will balance, it will help in the osmotic it will be helpful in the maintaining the osmotic balance of the plasma with the other cells. Okay, and half life of albumin is 20 days. And coming to globulins, these are different diverse group of high molecular weight proteins, and 35% of the globulins are immunoglobulins. Coming to red blood cells, we call them as erythrocytes, and healthy adult man will contain 5.4 million per milliliter and 4.8 million red blood cells per milliliter in healthy adult woman. And 45% of total volume of blood is this red blood cells. And hemoglobin is one of the major component of RBC, and this we can also call it as blood pigment, and it is responsible for the transportation of oxygen. Okay, Hemoglobin is 33% of the erythrocytes. And white blood cells, these are leukocytes, and these mainly in white bloods are mainly involved in the um, mechanism of uh, immunity. That means these white a few of the white blood cells will fight against other components or antigens which enter our body, and these are nearly 1% of the total blood volume, and by due to the presence of small granules on the cytoplasmic surface of these white blood cells, these are distinguished into granulocytes and agranulocytes. Coming to granulocytes, these are neutrophils, eosinophils and basophils, and agranulocytes are lymphocytes and monocytes. Granulocytes are important granulocyte is neutrophil, and as neutrophils are the most numerous white blood cells, and 50 to 70% of the WBC population is filled with neutrophils. And what is the major importance of this neutrophil is destruction of bacteria. They fight against bacteria, and why we call these neutrophils as neutrophils means these take both basic and stick dyes while staining, and due to the acceptance of both basic and stick dyes, we call it as neutrophils. Next one is basophils, and this helps in the this helps in the uh, prevention of clotting. That means uh, they secrete few components which are responsible for which are called as anticoagulants. That means this basophils will maintain the fluidity of blood. That means it acts as anticoagulant. It involves in the anticoagulant properties of the blood, making it free flow in the body. And the next one is eosinophils, and this is responsible for the uh, infectious, that is allergic reactions. Okay, this also acts on parasitic worms and also in the allergic reactions, and that means this helps in the destruction of allergens which enter our body, and some inflammatory chemicals which our body cannot accept against those particular components. This eosinophil cells will be acting, and this eosinophil cells also act major role in the asthma patients. Now let's say about the granulocytes, and the first one is lymphocytes. These lymphocytes major function is to destroy carcinogenic cells and cells which are infected with viruses in our body, and any foreign invading cells can also be destroyed by these lymphocytes, and these are also responsible for the secretion of antibodies based on immune response. Okay, and the next one is monocytes, and these monocytes are majorly responsible for the formation of macrophages, and these help in the phagocytic reactions. That means these macrophages undergo phagocytosis reaction, uh, resulting in the digestion of pathogens or dead neutrophil cells and debris of dead cells. That means these monocytes form macrophages, and these macrophages undergo phagocytosis process to digest pathogens, neutrophils, and debris of dead cells. And the next one is the other cellular component of blood is platelets. We can also call it as thrombocytes, and on the surface of platelets only our prothrombin is converted into thrombin. Okay, and these platelets are very helpful for the blood clotting, and they major function of platelets is uh, for blood clotting, and blood vessel damage can also be repaired by using these platelets. Okay, these are the major points regarding this components of blood. And if you see transportation of O2 and CO2 in blood, if you see the diagram, you can easily understand. You see this, the general respiration process, that is intake of oxygen and exhalation of CO2, is the general respiration process which we all know. And this oxygen which is taken from the atmosphere is uh, transported from lungs to different tissues by blood. And the carbon dioxide which is liberated from the cells after utilization of oxygen is again received from the tissues, and it is exhaled through our body with the help of lungs. Okay, and this whole process is carried by hemoglobin, which is the color pigment present in the blood. This hemoglobin has a globular protein part and apoprotein heme part. And heme is responsible for the binding of this oxygen molecules to the hemoglobin. And each hemoglobin is a tetrameric compound, and it will be loaded with 4 molecules of oxygen immediately uh, in the lungs, because lungs consist of high concentration of high oxygen levels will be present, and hemoglobin will be immediately loaded with 4 molecules of O2 with heme, and this is transported to every cell. And here myoglobin will receive the oxygen, and here myoglobin also a heme based component, but here myoglobin will be having only one heme molecule, that's why it has ability to take one oxygen molecule only. And after that, what happens, this is given to the cell, and by utilization of one O2, in obviously one CO2 will be released, and this CO2 is again taken by hemoglobin, and hemoglobin will carry this CO2 and also carry CO2 in the form of bicarbonate, and this will be taken to the lungs, where this bicarbonate will be again split into H2O and CO2 with the help of carbonic anhydrase enzyme, and ultimately CO2 is uh, released or exhaled from the body. This is how uh, transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide will be seen in the body with the help of blood. Okay, and coming to blood clotting, what happened, it is done by extrinsic and intrinsic pathways, and these two are different pathways, but at the end this will be coupled for the few reactions. And extrinsic pathway, which is immediately seen after the wound formation, where factor 7 is converted into 7A, and this 7A along with factor 3 will activate factor 10 to form factor 10A. Okay, and on the other side, intrinsic pathway, it will be started with factor 12A activation to after factor 12 activation to form 12A, and this 12A will activate factor 11 to form 11A, and 11A will activate to factor 9 to form 9A, and factor 8 will form factor 8A, and factor 9A and 8A along together act on factor 9 to form factor factor 10 to form factor 10A. And factor 5, the 10A is the common product for both the common end product for both the intrinsic and extrinsic pathways. Finally, what will happen? This 9A will be 10A will be involved in the activation of prothrombin to thrombin, and for this reaction it also requires factor 5A. Factor 5 is activated to form 5A, and this 10A and 5A will work for the formation of thrombin, which is a factor 2A, and this act on fibrinogen to form fibrin, which is the monomer. And again factor 5 is will activate factor 13, and it will form factor 13A, and this 13A will help to form a final fibrin hard clot. That means all the fibrin monomers will be attached with each other to form a large hard clot, that is fibrin, and this will be formed with the help of factor 13A. So these are the three major topics that we see in our syllabus regarding blood: components of blood, and transportation of oxygen and carbon dioxide with blood, and coagulation of blood. These are the three topics, and please keep the material with you while watching these videos. Thank you, students. Please follow the videos, and if you have any doubt, just please ping me and ask your doubts. Thank you.